Another year and another Valentine's Day is upon us. The day of sharing your love for those closest to you, who you treasure beyond anything else. The ones whose warm embrace you look forward to coming back to and you couldn't do without. And, if you're like me, you'll be spending this Valentine's Day in exactly that. The warm embrace of your monitor as you live vicariously through the fictional lives of others. As I brought up in my last video, rom-coms are easily my favorite genre of anime, and the one I most often find myself coming back to. And when you get involved in as many as I have at this point, you begin to notice that the overwhelming majority of them always seem to follow the same basic outline. Guy or girl like someone else, through fits of stupidity, circumstance, or just awful communication, they keep failing to confess their love and or create huge bouts of drama. Until finally, in the end, we finally get to see that we have to read the manga to see how it ends. Spoken as someone who loves the genre, this formula can become incredibly infuriating sometimes, especially when your own mental state becomes dependent on the resolution, or lack thereof, in the relationship. And as I was preparing for this video, I realized that my truly favorite rom-coms had something in common. They broke out of these common pitfalls, mostly speaking, in one way or another. Breaking free from this seemingly set-in-stone formula made their stories all the more exciting and fulfilling to get invested in. I'm sure that most people watching this will probably recognize most, if not all, of the titles that I'm going to bring up, but seeing as how it's Valentine's Day, I felt it necessary to go through what I consider to be my top 5 rom-com anime, and explore what makes them so fantastic compared to their competition. And who knows, maybe you'll see a show that you have or haven't seen that may seem like a great watch, either for yourself or to share with a loved one. Before I get into it though, I had to lay some ground rules for myself. As I went through my list of anime I've watched, there were a lot of shows I wanted to talk about, but I wasn't really sure if it qualified exactly as a rom-com. As such, I made the prevailing rule that the romance aspect has to be the main focus of the show, and the show must retain an overall lighthearted or fun atmosphere. This meant shows where the romance was a subplot, or the jokes were only used sparingly, were out. And I know that these rules may seem obvious, but I'll just say that there were some shows that I adore, but ultimately had to cut as a result of this specification. And even after narrowing down the pool of options, I just have to say this too. Making this list destroyed me as a person. Pitting some of my favorite shows against each other tortured me emotionally. I feel as though at some point I betrayed them and myself in some fashion, and this may have been the greatest trauma I've forced myself to go through. As such, the ordering of this list was subject to change multiple times, and I'm still not even confident on it. But it's set now, and I can't waste another week crying over it, so without further ado... Number 5, Gamers. Allow me to kick off my top 5 by completely contradicting myself. This is a show that is not on here because of how it breaks the typical, infuriating norms of rom-coms. Rather, it's here because of just how hard it leans into them. Gamers, contrary to what the name suggests, isn't really so much about these characters and the games they play, or at least not the digital ones anyway. It's about 5 horribly awkward teenagers dealing with the confusing pitfalls of love and relationships and the absolute dumpster fires that occur as a result of not knowing how to use their mouth words good. We have Amano, the typical otaku nerd type who is super into his dating sims. Tendo, the school idol type who is actually a hardcore gamer. Chiaki, the shy introvert. Aguri, the incredibly energetic and doting small girl who actually doesn't really care about games. And Tasuku, the former gamer like Amano, except he abandoned his ways in an effort to come off as cooler and more popular. All these characters are insecure, inexperienced, and incredibly stupid. But because of just how over the top they go with their lack of communication skills, misunderstandings, and just general awkwardness, it honestly makes for an incredibly fun ride. You can see the problems that they're going to run into from a mile away, but still be surprised at just how badly they still manage to screw things up. On top of that, the show has some absolutely incredible visual gags that make it a treat to watch. And they commit to these gags really hard, too. In one scene, you have the heartbroken Tendo become petrified, then crumble into a pile of dust, and then in that same scene, you have another character who walks through the room. They step onto the pile of Tendo that is still present, as she makes an audible oof. That right there is dedication to a joke. While the show does have some cute moments, this is a great show to look to if you're more looking for the comedy aspect and are willing to sacrifice anything meaningful happening on the more romantic side. Coming in next at number 4, Ouran High School Host Club. Ouran High School Host Club is definitely the anime that I've watched the largest number of times. The reason being that it's usually the first show I present to someone when trying to corrupt them and bring them into the anime fandom. It follows the story of Haruhi Fujioka, a lower-class commoner who attends an elite school for the fabulously wealthy. At this school, there is a host club, which, as described by one of its members, is where the school's handsomest boys with way too much time on their hand entertain the ladies who also have way too much time on their hands. After an accident at the host club, Haruhi becomes indebted to them and agrees to act as a member of the club. The only issue being that while everyone initially thought Haruhi was a boy, she is in fact a girl. So while she carries out her debt and spends time in the club, she must also work to hide her secret from the rest of the school, or else risk her position in the club and her means of paying them back. Like gamers, Ouran has a plethora of just zany, slapstick visual gags that keep it a blast to watch. And while there is the main romance of the club's leader, Tamaki, dealing with his attraction to Haruhi, it also explores the feelings and personalities of several other club members as well. Ouran High School Host Club is another fantastic show if you're looking for a gut-busting comedy that also has some genuinely touching and heartwarming moments sprinkled within. And going beyond that, the show actually touches on some really key real-life issues. Hell, I even wrote a final paper for one of my college courses on Ouran High School Host Club and gender identity issues. It is very much a show that fights for it doesn't matter what someone looks like on the outside, what gender they are or not, or what others think of them. Rather, what matters is the actions you take and how you treat others. It's genuinely a fun and funny show with a legitimate message driving behind it. It also has a very well English dub, making it incredibly accessible to new viewers. Also, Haruhi's dad is one of the greatest anime dads ever. At number 3, Toreador. Alright, this is my favorite show to purposefully explain badly to people, so here we go. Guy A likes Girl B. Girl B is best friends with Girl A. Girl A likes Guy B, and Guy B is best friends with Guy A. So Guy A and Girl A team up to get each other with Girl B and Guy B respectively. Also, Girl C comes in, throws a monkey wrench into things, but screw her, she sucks. Toreador follows main characters Ryuji and Taiga. Ryuji is plagued with delinquent eyes that he inherited from his bad boy deceased father. As a result, people always mistake him for an aggressive bully type, while he is actually just a quiet boy, obsessed with cleaning, who just wants to live life and pine after his crush Minori. Taiga is an incredibly short girl with an explosively fiery temper, earning her the nickname the Palm Top Tiger. When the two run into each other literally, and learn that the other has fallen for their best friends, they agree it would be in their best interest to team up. Toreador is a great, near-perfect blend of comedy and over-the-top character moments, as well as genuinely touching emotional journeys and explorations of the characters and their relationships. What lands this show so high on my list is mainly the second half of its run. While the first half is filled with your typical will they, won't they drama, and awkward teenagers being awkward teenagers, the second half delves really hard into seeing the development of romantic feelings, how they evolve, and the characters learning just how much they mean to each other. We're given many more dramatic, but extremely romantic and touching moments that show us just how far we've come since the start of the journey. And unlike so many other anime adaptations, this anime has an actual ending with a resolution to the romance. It doesn't just end with, so do they get together? Do they not get together? Do they even keep talking? What's happening? No, you know exactly where they stand with each other by the end, so long as you watch through to the end of the credits. It may not be quite fair that Toreador is so high on my list, as I feel like the main reason is because it has a resolution to the romance. A lot of rom-com anime do have resolutions, but they are only in the original source material, so if you want an ending, you have to ditch the anime and go read. But I don't feel like it's too much to ask that my shows occasionally end at the end. And since Toreador both gave a fun and touching ride, and it actually led somewhere, it earned its number 3 spot. Next at number 2, Ori Monogatari, or My Love Story. This show is a breath of fresh air. Here we have a rom-com that is not at all focused on the will they or won't they relationship of the main characters. Within the first few episodes of the show, the main character has officially gotten the girl. Takeo is a hulking mass of a man who would normally come off as incredibly intimidating to others. However, as you quickly find out, he's actually just a big softie with a heart of gold. He's a loving little teddy bear who's slightly jealous of his best friend Tsunekawa and how naturally he draws the attention of girls. One day, Takeo ends up rescuing a girl by the name of Yamato from a groper on a train. After she thanks him for his help and the two stay in touch, they quickly end up dating. This show is adorable, and precious, and wholesome. Rather than follow the antics of two characters who suck at communicating their feelings and are trapped in an endless loop of not confessing said feelings, it instead explores two people who are just both new to the world of dating. Neither one of them has experience, and neither one of them knows what they're doing, but they know how they feel about each other, and it's just incredibly refreshing to watch a show that is about the progression of an already formed relationship, showing how their feelings of love for one another grow. There are some great comedic gold moments through the show, but this right here is definitely the show if you're looking for something leaning more on the romance side. It is incredibly heartwarming and will leave you cooing at every scene. But for as sweet and adorable a show as Ori Monogatari is, even it unfortunately was not able to take the number 1 spot. Number 1, Inferno Cop. Inferno Cop by Studio Trigger is without a doubt my favorite rom-com and has more than earned its spot on this list. Inferno Cop is about Inferno Cop and his quest to spread the fiery, flaming flames of justice and love. Along the way, he racks up a sizable harem that adores him, but he doesn't have time for this legion of followers as he must continue on his quest against the organization that murdered his parents and ultimately fight to save the world. His glory isn't even restricted to just one show. He makes a cameo in another Trigger work to impart his own romantic wisdom as well. You want clear communication between characters, you want touching dramatic moments, you want shocking plot twists, Inferno Cop is the most surprising romantic comedy you will ever watch. It honestly subverts so many of the typical stereotypes and subverts them so hard that it becomes difficult to even classify it as a rom-com. But if you view it as a romantic comedy satire, you will find so much to enjoy in this brief romp. At 13 episodes that average roughly 5 minutes apiece, this is a quick watch that will stick with you for years to come. Hopefully you found something amongst this list that seems interesting to you if you're looking for something to watch this Valentine's Day. Personally, I'm working on my 4th viewing of Ouran High School at the moment. So what did you think? Do you agree with my listings? Let me know what some of your favorite rom-coms are in the comments below and how they've touched your heart. Also, while you're down there, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. And if you get a moment, consider checking out my Patreon. I'm still in the early phases of my channel, so even the smallest bits of support will go miles towards helping me. Until next time, I'm CJ Picor, the Angry Avocado, and I still don't have a sign-off.